Have you ever wondered why everything you've been through didn't break you? Why, despite the storms, betrayals, and losses, you're still standing? What if I told you that the pain was not the end, but the preparation? What if every setback was God setting the stage for a shift so big, so divine, it will leave you speechless? Get ready, because heaven has marked your name. You're about to be ushered into a season that doesn't look like your past and doesn't echo your struggles. This is not just any season. It's a season of unprecedented favor, and it's coming quicker than you think. There are moments in our lives when we feel as though God has gone silent. Our prayers feel unanswered, our hearts feel stretched, and our hopes, once vibrant, begin to fade into whispers. It's during these wilderness seasons that many begin to question, where is God in all of this? But it is precisely in the silence that He prepares the symphony. It is in the unseen that He prepares the supernatural. What may seem like delay is divine timing unfolding behind the veil of human understanding. You must understand this. When God is about to shift your life, He often allows you to walk through circumstances that don't reflect the promise. Think of Joseph, clothed in a coat of many colors and given dreams of greatness, yet he found himself in a pit, then a prison, before the palace ever came. But the pit was not punishment. It was positioning. It was the divine orchestration of favor being forged in the fire of adversity. This is how God works. He breaks before He builds. He hides before He reveals. He subtracts before He multiplies. So if you've been wondering why you've been hidden, overlooked, underestimated, perhaps heaven has been working in silence, not to ignore you, but to preserve you. Because favor that comes before formation becomes a burden, but favor that follows brokenness becomes a blessing. Scripture reminds us in Psalm 102:13, "You will arise and have compassion on Zion, for it is time to show favor to her. The appointed time has come." There is a set time for God's favor to manifest, and when that hour strikes, nothing, no man, no system, no demon can prevent it. That hour is coming for you. God's favor doesn't always look like fireworks. Sometimes it looks like closed doors, like people leaving, like isolation that feels like abandonment, but is in fact alignment. He removes what can't carry the weight of the next season. He exposes what can't survive the altitude of your calling. Because where He's about to take you, you can't be surrounded by people who only recognize your past. You need those who can see the anointing of your future. And when God's favor falls, it will fall in a way that does not make sense to human minds. It will be like the widow in 2 Kings 4, whose last drop of oil became the beginning of an overflow. Her lack became a miracle, not because of what she had, but because of what God did with it. So too, your little is about to become more than enough. The things you thought were insignificant, the prayers you whispered through tears, the seeds you sowed when no one was watching, the obedience you kept when you had every reason to quit, those things have risen like incense before the throne. And God is responding. You're not just entering a new chapter, you're entering a divine appointment. The favor that's about to find you will not be earned, it will be bestowed. Not because you are perfect, but because you are positioned. Not because of your strength, but because of your surrender. You may have lost years, you may have lost relationships, you may have even lost yourself along the way, but God is a restorer. Joel 2:25 promises, "I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten." That's not poetry, that's prophecy, and it is being fulfilled in your life. So prepare your heart. Let go of the bitterness, the doubt, the voices that told you it would never happen. Make room, because God is not just bringing favor, He's bringing unprecedented favor, favor that changes the trajectory of your life, favor that accelerates, elevates, and vindicates, favor that reminds you He saw every tear, He heard every prayer, and now He is answering in a way you never expected. Before any vineyard yields its finest fruit, it must endure pruning. The gardener doesn't cut the branch because it's dying, but because it's alive. In John 15:2, Jesus speaks of the Father as the vine dresser. Every branch that bears fruit, He prunes, that it may bear more fruit. What a strange truth. Fruitfulness invites pruning, not punishment. When God is about to pour out favor that surpasses logic, He first begins to cut away the things that will choke the harvest. The pruning is never random, it's purposeful. He takes away relationships that distract you. He removes opportunities that were actually obstacles. He closes doors that your ambition wanted to walk through, but your calling could not survive beyond. And while it hurts, the pain of removal is actually the mercy of preparation. We often cry out for promotion, for breakthrough, for favor, but God, who sees the end from the beginning, knows what the weight of favor can crush if the roots are not deep. He knows the applause of men can destroy a soul not yet fortified in Him. So before He elevates you, He ensures your foundation is not built on convenience, but on character. You may be wondering why certain people left, why the ones you supported suddenly forgot you, why the doors you knocked on didn't open. But what if those rejections were redirections? What if the loneliness was a pause before the launch? What if your setback was actually God's gentle hand pulling you away from poison before the feast? Sometimes favor doesn't come with a crown, it begins with a cut. We are too quick to interpret removal as rejection, but God's silence isn't absence, and His no isn't cruelty, it's protection. And when He starts pruning, don't panic, rejoice, because it means He has seen fruit in you, and He's preparing you for more. Ask any farmer, the richer the soil, the more frequent the pruning. So if you've felt the blade lately, it might be because your branches are carrying promise, and God is preparing you to bear more than you've ever known. The favor that's coming isn't for where you were, it's for where He's taking you. And He won't let yesterday's weight slow down tomorrow's wings. Let Him remove what must fall. Don't cling to what God is cutting. Some losses are divine gains in disguise. Some exits are heaven's escort to a better room. The pruning is the prelude. And the fruit that's about to grow, it won't just bless you, it will overflow onto everything and everyone connected to your obedience. Get ready, because the more He removes, the more room there is for favor. Obedience rarely feels rewarding in the moment. It feels like restraint, like choosing the narrow path when everyone else is dancing on the wide road. It feels like saying no to temptations that scream yes. But in the realm of heaven, obedience is not forgotten, it's stored. Every unseen yes, every hidden sacrifice, every midnight prayer is not wasted. It's building a foundation you cannot yet see. In Deuteronomy 28:1-2, God says, "If you fully obey the Lord your God, all these blessings will come upon you and overtake you." Notice the word overtake. That's not a passive blessing. It's a blessing that chases you down. But the key is obedience, not partial obedience, not occasional faithfulness, but a consistent, surrendered walk with the Lord. Obedience is a seed, and seeds don't scream. They sit in silence, buried beneath the surface, hidden from applause, ignored by the world. But God watches, and when the time is right, what was planted in obscurity becomes a tree others find shade under. You may not have seen the rewards yet, but your obedience has been echoing in the throne room of heaven. Many people confuse delay with denial, but God often waits until the foundation is finished before revealing the structure. Would you build a palace on sand? Of course not, and neither would God pour unprecedented favor on a shaky spirit. He wants you ready, not just externally, but internally. He needs your character to match your calling, your posture to match your promotion. Sometimes the obedience God calls for seems illogical, like Noah building an ark before a single drop of rain, like Abraham leaving everything familiar for a promise he couldn't see. But that's the test. Will you obey even when you don't understand? Because those who obey blindly are often the ones who receive blessings that confound human logic. If you've been faithful in private, get ready for a reward in public. If you've stood your ground when compromise looked easier, prepare for a reward that cannot be explained. God honors obedience like no other trait. It is the language of trust, the fragrance of surrender. A favor that's coming is not random. It's not because God woke up one day and decided to bless you. It's the result of every choice you made to walk righteously when it would have been easier to walk away. It's the response to every tear that said, "Lord, I trust you, even here." And now, the invisible foundation you've been laying, day by day, prayer by prayer, sacrifice by sacrifice, is about to reveal its purpose. It's going to hold up something so glorious, so weighty, so divine, that people will look and wonder, how did this happen? And the answer will be simple: obedience. So keep walking, even when you can't see the fruit. Keep saying yes, even when the crowd says no, because soon your obedience will speak louder than any title, and your foundation will hold up a favor no one can take from you. There is a sound that only heaven hears before it ever reaches the ears of men. It is the sound of faithfulness in obscurity, the sound of a heart crying out in the dark while the world remains deaf to your pain. And though people have overlooked your worth, heaven has been listening. The world has a habit of celebrating the loud and the visible. It chases clout, crowns charisma, and worships appearances. But God does not operate on earthly popularity. His promotion is not influenced by applause or recognition. 1 Samuel 16:7 reminds us, "Man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart." That is where your announcement began, in the silence of your surrender. You may feel like your gifts have gone unnoticed, that your voice is lost in a sea of louder echoes. But what the earth ignores, heaven prepares to elevate. God doesn't need a committee to promote you. He doesn't wait for consensus. He makes declarations, not suggestions. And when he chooses to announce what he has prepared in you, no gate, no gossip, no demon in hell can shut it down. Think of David, a shepherd boy in the fields, forgotten even by his own father when the prophet Samuel came to anoint the next king. While his brothers stood in line for glory, David was tending sheep with a heart of worship. No one saw him, but heaven did. And when the time came, the oil didn't flow until David entered the room. Because what God ordains, he preserves. And when the heavens announce a chosen one, the earth has no choice but to acknowledge it, even if reluctantly. Your season of being hidden was not punishment, it was preservation. There are certain announcements too holy to be shared prematurely. God kept you under the radar, not because you lacked value, but because your value was too sacred to be contaminated by worldly noise. He allowed you to be ignored so your identity wouldn't be shaped by opinions, but by intimacy with Him. The favor that's about to manifest will seem sudden to the world, but it's been a long time coming in the Spirit. It will look like overnight success, but only you and God know how many nights it took. The tears, the warfare, the sacrifices, it all has a voice, and now that voice is rising like incense before the throne. The time has come for your name to be called, not by men, but by God. This is not a platform built by flattery, it is a place assigned by prophecy. And when heaven announces you, it will not be to impress people, it will be to fulfill purpose. This is why you could never fit in with the crowd. This is why others seemed to get ahead while you remained in waiting. Because your path was different, your calling was higher, and now your season has come. Prepare your heart, not for recognition, but for responsibility. For the moment heaven speaks on your behalf, the weight of divine favor will follow. And those who once ignored you will watch as God validates you, openly, undeniably, and irrevocably. There is a sacred loneliness that precedes divine calling, a season where it seems like the phone stops ringing, the doors stop opening, and the voices around you grow faint. It feels like abandonment, but in the spiritual realm, it's consecration. You weren't rejected, you were marked. God often leads his chosen ones into isolation, not to harm them, but to protect what he's doing in them. In Hosea 2:14, God says, "Therefore I am now going to allure her. I will lead her into the wilderness and speak tenderly to her." The wilderness is not the enemy, it's the classroom, the place where distractions are stripped away and only the voice of God remains. You weren't overlooked by people, you were hidden by God. There's a difference. People forgot your name, but heaven was engraving it. You were set apart, not set aside, because when God begins a work in you that is too holy to be contaminated, he isolates. When he's molding a vessel for honor, he removes it from common use. And though the silence may have been deafening, it was in that silence that you were being sealed. Isolation exposes things that crowds can't. It reveals motives, breaks addictions to validation, and forces you to face the parts of yourself you once ignored. You begin to hear your own thoughts, confront your buried wounds, and most importantly, tune in to the whisper of the Spirit. God uses these moments to rewire your mind, cleanse your heart, and align your soul with heaven's frequency. Many mistake isolation for punishment, not realizing that some of God's most powerful assignments begin with separation. Moses was on the backside of a desert when God called him from the burning bush. Elijah heard God not in the fire or the wind, but in a still, small voice on the mountain alone. And even Jesus, before his public ministry began, was led by the Spirit into the wilderness. That should tell you everything. Your loneliness was never random. It was holy. God wasn't ignoring you. He was preparing you, shielding you, sharpening you, and most of all, he was marking you for something greater than comfort, greater than popularity. He was marking you for favor that needs no introduction because it will announce itself when it arrives. When favor shows up after isolation, it is undeniable. It carries a weight that cannot be faked. You will walk into rooms with no connections and leave with open doors. You will be seated at tables that you never applied for, because when God finishes the work in private, he brings you forth in power. Don't despise the cave you were placed in. That cave was your cathedral. That silence was your sanctification. And now that the work is nearly complete, the same God who drew you away is about to bring you forward. Not as the same person who walked in, but as someone transformed, anointed, and ready. Delay is one of the most misunderstood tools in the hands of God. It feels like denial, sounds like silence, and looks like abandonment. But delay in the divine realm is never about denial. It's about dimension. When God stretches time, He's not withholding your blessing. He's enlarging your capacity to receive it. Consider the words in Habakkuk 2:3. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not delay. This is no contradiction. In heaven's calendar, delay is not measured by clocks, but by readiness. What appears to be a pause in your life may actually be God stretching the size of the miracle so that when it comes, it won't just bless you, it will transform you. A small promise arrives fast, but a great one takes time. God is never in a hurry because what He's building in you is eternal. You're not waiting for a blessing. The blessing is waiting for you to match its weight. It's like pouring a river into a cup. It would drown you if you are not prepared. So God lets the delay refine you. He lets it teach you. He lets it purify your motives so that when the miracle comes, it doesn't break your character. This is why the waiting season feels heavy, because it is. You're being stretched, not to make you suffer, but to make you strong. Just as a mother's womb must expand to carry the life growing within, your soul must also stretch to carry what God has assigned to you. And stretching is never comfortable, but it is always necessary. Look back at those years you thought were wasted, the heartbreaks, the unanswered prayers, the rejections, the nights you cried wondering if God had forgotten you. What if all of that was part of the stretching? What if every delay was God's way of preparing a miracle that wouldn't just fix a problem, but rewrite your entire story? Think of Lazarus in John 11. Jesus delayed going to him even after hearing that he was sick. By the time Jesus arrived, Lazarus was already dead. People had given up hope, but what they called too late, Jesus called perfect timing. Why? Because resurrection makes a greater statement than healing. And sometimes God lets the situation die, so when He moves, no one else can take credit for what He's about to do. What if God is letting some things fall apart, just so He can piece them together in a way that leaves no doubt it was His hand alone? What if the delay is a setup for something bigger than your prayer? Because He's preparing to do exceedingly abundantly above all you could ask or imagine. So don't curse the waiting. Don't resent the silence. Heaven is working behind the curtain. And when it opens, the glory will be greater than the pain, and the speed of the shift will make you forget the slowness of the wait. Surrender is not defeat in the kingdom of God. It is the beginning of divine partnership. It is the laying down of your will so that heaven can raise up its plan. And in this surrender lies the secret to activation. Favor is not earned through striving. It is unlocked through surrender. In Luke 1:38, Mary responds to the angel's announcement with these words, "Be it unto me according to your word." That is surrender. She didn't ask for explanation. She didn't request a guarantee. She simply yielded, and that surrender brought forth the greatest miracle the world has ever known. Her womb became a vessel because her heart said yes. This is how favor works. It finds the surrendered, the humble, the ones who say, "God, even if it costs me my comfort, I choose your will." And the irony is, the moment you stop chasing what you think you need, heaven starts releasing what you never imagined. The surrender of your plans becomes the soil where God plants His promise. Many think favor comes through perfection, through flawless living, but that's not the gospel. Favor comes through posture, through alignment, through hearts that say, "Not my will, but yours be done." It's the people who gave up control, who broke their idols, who laid their dreams on the altar, that God chooses to bless beyond measure. Surrender is not weakness, it's warfare. Because when you surrender, you shift the battle from your hands into God's. You stop carrying weights you were never built to hold. You exchange striving for stillness, anxiety for authority. And that shift doesn't go unnoticed in the heavens. Have you ever wondered why the blessing took so long? Perhaps because God was waiting for the moment you let go. The moment you stopped trying to open doors by force and simply said, "Lord, if you want me there, you'll get me there." That's not giving up, that's giving it over. And that's when things begin to change. Think of Abraham and Isaac in Genesis 22. Abraham's obedience to offer Isaac on the altar was not about sacrifice. It was about surrender. And it was at the moment of surrender, not slaughter, that heaven intervened and favor was poured out. God tested the posture of Abraham's heart and found it aligned with his will. That alignment released legacy. Generations were blessed because one man surrendered. What if your surrender today is unlocking favor not just for you, but for your children and their children after them? What if what you lay down is rising again as something far greater? This isn't just about what you gave up. It's about what God is about to release in return. Because surrender is the currency of elevation. It's the key that opens doors you couldn't have knocked on. It's the reason why favor is about to chase you down, not because you demanded it, but because you yielded to it. So if you've wept through your surrender, if you felt the sting of letting go, know this: heaven saw it. And what looked like loss was actually the unlocking of something sacred, something weighty, something unprecedented. God's favor does not follow earthly rules. It does not ask for permission. It does not apologize for its arrival. It defies logic, bypasses systems, and confounds expectations. The favor that is coming your way will not be fair, because it is divine. When favor is divine, it offends those who measure success by merit alone. It angers those who thought your failure was permanent. It shakes the minds of those who believed you needed their validation. But divine favor doesn't arrive based on man's permission. It arrives based on God's decision. And when heaven decides to elevate you, fairness is no longer the standard. Sovereignty is. Look at the parable in Matthew 20, where the landowner pays the workers who labored for 1 hour the same as those who worked all day. To the natural mind, that was unfair, but to the kingdom mind, it was grace. Divine favor does not consult your resume. It responds to your relationship. It's not about how long you worked. It's about how deeply you trusted. Some may look at what's about to unfold in your life and ask, why them? They didn't see the nights you wrestled in prayer. They didn't witness the depth of your surrender. They don't know how many times you had to smile through tears, keep walking when your feet were bleeding, and believe when your heart was breaking. But God saw it all, and now the reward is coming. Divine favor disrupts human understanding. It promotes people from prison to palace, like Joseph. It raises shepherds to the throne, like David. It takes fishermen and turns them into apostles. It takes the overlooked, the forgotten, the misjudged, and it makes them signs and wonders in the earth. This is the kind of favor God is about to release over you, the kind that doesn't make sense, the kind that causes others to question how you got there. But here's the truth. You didn't get there. God put you there. And when He places you, no one can displace you. This isn't about being better than others. It's about being chosen by God. It's not pride, it's positioning. Favor that is divine doesn't swell the ego. It humbles the soul. Because you'll know that without God, none of it was possible. You'll walk in rooms not with arrogance, but with awe. You'll carry blessings, not with entitlement, but with reverence. So don't shrink to make others comfortable. Don't downplay the blessings that are coming. They weren't your doing, they were God's gift. And when He decides to pour, He does it in ways that overflow. As it says in Psalm 23:5, "You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows." That's the kind of favor you're stepping into, not fair, but full. So prepare yourself, not for what's reasonable, but for what's miraculous. Because this favor will break protocols. It will bypass timelines. It will override statistics. It will provoke jealousy. But it will declare God's glory. What's coming is not fair. It's not explainable. It's not ordinary. It's divine. Beloved, you are standing on the threshold of something heaven has been planning long before your pain began. Every tear you've cried, every time you kept walking when life tried to cripple you, every moment of obedience when no one clapped, none of it went unnoticed. You were being carved, shaped, refined, and now the fire that tested you will become the light that reveals you. This season is not about catching up. It's about being catapulted. You're not stepping into favor slowly. You're about to be launched into it. Doors you couldn't open with effort will now swing open by grace. Tables you were once denied will now require your presence. Not because of your influence, but because of your intimacy with God. He is the God who restores what was lost, magnifies what was small, and honors what was hidden. The shift you're about to experience is not random. It's redemptive. It's the kind of favor that doesn't just bless you. It makes a statement. It tells every enemy, every mocker, every doubter, this one was chosen. This one was mine all along. So lift your head, dust off your weariness, fix your eyes on the author of your story, because your waiting has not been in vain. Your wilderness was not a waste. You are not forgotten. You are not behind. You are exactly where heaven wanted you to be, so that when this favor falls, all the glory will belong to God. Get ready. The shift has begun. Your season of unprecedented favor is here.